is muted. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Commission on Science and Technology public seminar. My name is Olive Jean Boras, and I am the Executive Director of the National Commission on Science and Technology, which as of now you will hear being referred to as the NCST. Welcome to our public seminar. It is all about the popularization of science, sharing knowledge and information with the general public. So this is a platform where we are going to be from now onward. We will have regular public seminars in an effort to share with the general public what is happening in Jamaica in terms of science and technology, allowing the Jamaican public to learn more, understand more, and actually become more interested in science and technology. So this is really the purpose of this seminar, just raising awareness among the general public. The fact that you have signed on to listen to our seminar shows there is some interest. Well, we want to improve that interest in science and technology, because you know, science and technology is what makes the difference between a developed and an developing or underdeveloped country. And so we at this National Commission on Science and Technology has that mandate to act as an umbrella organization that fosters and advances the national policy and strategy for science and technology in Jamaica. Our role really is to promote sustainable development and to promote the utilization of local science, technology, and innovation for profitable production through exactly what we're doing now, educating the populace, as well as partnering with other government agencies, private sector, academia, and other such institutions. So Mr. Campbell, our Director of Research, is about to present to you one of the little known areas of science, as to how we monitor science and see where we are as a country. So over to Mr. Campbell, and I hope we will learn from this and it will stimulate interest in science and technology. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
It's okay. I have.
Hi, good morning. Okay, perfect. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Gavin Campbell. I am the Director of Research at the National Commission on Science and Technology, and I'm also an entomologist. Very passionate about science and getting information about science out there. So I really want to show you this presentation, and it's going to be something that is enlightening for not just myself, but also for you. So please feel free to have any questions at the end. You can ask whatever at the end of the seminar, and we'll be happy, incredibly happy to participate and engage in those particular questions. Just going to share the screen now. I just want to confirm that you are seeing the screen currently. Anyone in the chat could just say yes or no.
Yes.
All right, seeing the screen and you're hearing me, video is cool. All right, so we're going to jump right into it. So, as mentioned before, my name is Gavin Campbell, and today I'll be presenting to you on mapping Jamaica's scientific research ecosystem for the year 2021 and also for the past 20 years. I am the Director of Research at the National Commission on Science and Technology. And first, I'd like to jump in and state that this seminar is in collaboration with a release of our report, which is going to be on our website at the end of this presentation. And it also marks the commemoration of Earth Day, which is tomorrow. So make sure that you do help to sponsor some Earth Day events or support some Earth Day events in collaboration with our efforts here today. So as Dr. Boris mentioned, the NCST is the umbrella organization responsible for advancing the national policy and strategy on science, technology, and innovation in Jamaica. We're also responsible for promoting the sustainable development of the country through education, such as in seminars like these, and also through partnerships with different entities across the world. One of our mandates is to increase science capital across the entire country. And increasing science capital, that incorporates increasing the awareness of science, technology, and innovation within the country. So more people in the general public are aware of what science is, how it's important, and also understanding who scientists are and what their work is. And in order to help to facilitate that, we created this report or produced this report or compiled this report in order to illustrate the work that's already being done in Jamaica and to identify gaps within our research that need to be filled overall. Scientific research in general helps to advance society, increase efficiency of processes and livelihoods, increase economic output, as well as improve the quality of life, which is one of the most important factors in our development. As much as we may have like giant buildings, we need to improve the quality of life of our people so that everyone can live a safe, happy, and healthy life into maybe their hundreds. So one of the ways of measuring science is Scientometrics, which is officially known as the quantitative study of science. So we want to measure how many different publications there are or how many different patents there are within a particular country or a particular institution. It measures not just scientific research, but also the investment of science, which then supports development in the longer run. It is tied to scientific development, technological development, and societal development. So the more investment there is in science, the greater investment there is in the development of different technologies and also in our societies across the world. So there are different ways of measuring scientometrics and measuring how much scientific input there is in the world. One of them is the number of patents that are produced by a particular country. There's also the global expenditure on research and development, also known as the GERD. So how much money is being put into research, finding out different things to increase the efficiency of different processes across the world. And there's also scientific publications in peer-reviewed journals, which is going to be the focus of this presentation today. And it's going to be standardized to the population per country. So it's going to be standardized to the number of publications per million population in order to assess different countries' populations and how they're producing with respect to their populations. In 2012, the national target for Jamaica was set to 62. So we're supposed to be producing 62 different publications within the scientific field every single year. But we're going to find out if we actually are meeting that in this report right now. So in 2018, the G20 countries, which include countries like the United States, China, as you can see on the right there, Brazil, UK, they accounted for more than 90% of the research expenditure across the world, as well as more than 80% of the world's GDP and 90% of scientific publications. The Caribbean, in comparison, contributed less than 0.1% to research expenditure, less than 0.3% to the world's GDP, and also less than 0.2% of the publications in the world. So you can see that there's a need for the Caribbean to be more represented. Even per capita, there's still a greater need for the Caribbean to be represented in these different aspects of research, such as expenditure in research and scientific publications. GDP invested in research and development for the G20 countries ranged from 0.54 to 4.95% overall. But the Caribbean as a whole, combined of all the countries in the Caribbean, contributed less than 0.1% for each country. So there's definitely a lot that needs to be done in the Caribbean and specifically in Jamaica to help support our research overall. And that is why we're here. We wanted to map the research for Jamaica to find out where we are, what basis we stand on, so that we can improve on aspects of that in the future. So one of the important things for the particular report was scientific publications in peer-reviewed journals. So peer-reviewed journals are the standard for different publications, and they have to be in those journals for them to be considered up to par within the scientific field. So we use different publications in the Web of Science database, which is the global standard, to assess the publications of Jamaica across time and across different countries in the world. So the Web of Science database has different criteria for different journals that have to be met in order for them to be added to the database. And they include scholarly content, so you can't just write about how your weekend was. It has to be something in a scholarly format. They also have to be peer reviewed, so all the articles in the journals have to be peer reviewed, which means that other experts within that particular field have to look through and say that, yes, this is a sound methodology, these are good results, this actually represents what it says it represents. And it also has to be accessible to people. So you can have as many papers in the world, but if only 5 people have it, that's not going to be able to help to contribute to the world's development. There are also impact criteria, which are important for assessing. So how impactful is a particular paper or a particular journal in getting information across? Yes, the impact factor is important, but there are certainly other factors that are incredibly important as well too, that have been delved into and will be delved into in the future. On the Web of Science database, there are different indices for measuring publications. There's the Social Science Index, which is the SSCI. There's Arts and Humanities. And there's also the Science Citation Index, which is the focus of this particular presentation. And we'll be talking primarily about the clinical, natural, and applied sciences across the world. There is also one more category, which is the emerging sources. So the emerging sources is essentially all these different categories, the social sciences, arts and humanities, and science, but they have the quality criteria met for these categories, but they do not have the impact criteria. So they're just on the verge of being added to the full database of the Web of Science infrastructure. So the time periods for this particular assessment for the report were from 2001 to 2021 for Jamaica specifically, and then for Jamaica last year, and for the Caribbean last year. So for Jamaica, from 2001 to 2021, we had 13,036 different citations for all the publications that we created as researchers working at Jamaican institutions. There was a total of 3,289 different publications across the entire country over the past 21 years. And these were published in 1,165 different peer-reviewed journals, which is incredible. So overall, this produced a mean PPMP, which is the publications per million population, of 56. And if you note, from earlier, the target in 2012 was 62. So on average, we're falling below the mean, and there needs to be more work to help support that and increase that number across the country. So these publications were a collaboration among different institutions, and primary among them was the University of the West Indies. But there were also inclusions from the University of Technology, the Scientific Research Council, the Natural History Museum of Jamaica, and the Sickle Cell Trust, and many others that have not been listed here, but you can find in the full report. From 2001 to 2021, the publications meeting or which were over the target of 62 per year were only met in 5 years. So 2010, 2011, 2012, 2014, 2018, and 2021 were the only years that we either met our national target or we surpassed our national target. And that is a success rate of 29%. So you can see that that is not an A, that is not a B, that is an F. We need to do better to be able to improve our publications each year to meet and continuously surpass our targets. The top research areas within the country across all the publications within the 21 years were in the medical sciences, and they included publications in general and internal medicine, which accounted for 27% of all publications across the years, of all the 3,289 publications, as well as obstetrics and gynecology, and pediatrics, just to name a few. Among the top 10 were also public and environmental health, environmental sciences, nutrition, and so on. But outside of the top 10, there were also other factors, other disciplines, such as engineering, thermodynamics, and soil science. Now we're moving on to Jamaica just last year. So just last year in 2021, Jamaica produced 185 different publications in peer-reviewed journals. and they were in 142 of those peer-reviewed journals. And as mentioned earlier, this was one of the years that Jamaica surpassed its PPMP. So there was a total of 69 publications that were produced per million population for Jamaica just last year, which is 7 over the target, which is amazing. Of those different journals, 56% of them were open access. So anyone on the internet can just go search for those papers and find them and have the full access to those papers to read through and see how it can be applied to their lives. And additionally, 43% of the papers were led by Jamaicans. So the first author were on each of these papers in 43% of cases were Jamaican researchers at different institutions in the country. For the research areas in 2021 alone, in comparison to the entire 2020, in the entire 21 years ago, it was still led by the medical sciences. So public, environmental, and occupational health was the top contributor at 20%. And there were also inclusions of general and internal medicine and healthcare services, healthcare sciences and services. But we can see that environmental science actually got bumped up to 11%. So that's good, showing that there's more representation from that particular field. So that's excellent to hear. Outside of these top 10 though, we can see that there are others like marine and freshwater biology, which contributed 4%. But outside of these top 10 categories, all the different categories represented less than 3% of the publications in 2021, just last year. So when it comes to the partnership, this is actually one of the more interesting factors that I was really surprised about finding. So in partnership with different institutions, last year we collaborated on so many of our papers. So 78% of our papers were as a result of collaboration with different countries. And these countries range from the US, China, Kyrgyzstan, Latvia, and Myanmar. And then 22% were either a sole authorship of a Jamaican or were a collaboration of different institutions in Jamaica. So the majority of our papers are in collaboration with different researchers across the world, which is incredibly amazing. Also in assessing the different countries, we were in a total of 139 countries. So of all the publications that were produced in the year, just last year, we collaborated with 139 other countries to create them. And these are just a few of the countries that we collaborated with last year. And as you can see, we are spanning the globe from North America, South America, Africa, Asia, and Europe, and even Australia. We are spanning the globe when it comes to our collaborative network in respect to research. So for the countries, our largest partner was the United States, with which we produced 48% of our papers. So of the 185, 45% of those, around 84 papers, were in collaboration with the United States of America. And this was followed by the United Kingdom at 22%, Canada at 14%, and South Africa at 13%. So outside of the top 4 countries listed on the graph, there were also top contributions from Switzerland, Germany, Ghana, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm really happy to see that there were some collaborations within our region as well to help promote the region as a whole throughout. When it comes to the cities that we collaborated with, the City of London in the UK was our main collaborator at 12%. And overall, across the world, we collaborated with researchers from 788 different towns and cities, which is also incredibly amazing to know that we have such a reach, not just at the country level, but within each country, we're spanning different cities and towns in each of those countries. So that's really, really incredible to know. So London and Cape Town were the most represented. So Cape Town at 11% and London at 12%. And then there was also Boston, Massachusetts in the United States and Durham in North Carolina in the United States again. When it came to institutions, there were a total of 1,366 different institutions across the world that we collaborated with as Jamaican researchers. And there are also 5 independent researchers that joined in as well too. But to know that there are over 1,000 institutions just working to create the publications for the country is, again, I cannot restate, it is incredible to know. That's amazing. That's an incredible reach. So these institutions included those notable ones such as Harvard, Oxford, the University of California, and Princeton. So these are some incredibly prolific institutions that we have collaborated with to create publications. So we're up there. Jamaica is up there. When it came to Jamaican institutions specifically, there were 37 that were important in creating publications of just last year. And primary among them was the University of the West Indies, but also included the University of Technology and the Kingston Public Hospital. So it's not always just a university that can create publications. There are also entities like the Kingston Public Hospital that can work and collaborate to create publications for the country. The top five institutions for Jamaica were mostly the University of the West Indies, the University Hospital, Kingston Public, and the University of Technology, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And as you can see, 82% of the publications for last year had included the University of the West Indies overall. So the university is a big contributor to our publications in the year. But other institutions included the International Seabed Authority, the Bustamante Children's Hospital, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the Hope Zoo Preservation Foundation. So we're spanning different institutions and different disciplines as well too. So with respect to the researchers that created these publications, there was a total of 2,944 different researchers across the world that we collaborated with. So international researchers, 2,944. Again, incredible. And for Jamaica specifically, there were 334 researchers who collaborated here in Jamaica to make those publications. And they used that network with their 2,944 international researchers to create all of last year's publications. So it's a pretty big and strong network overall, not just with respect to countries, but also with respect to individual researchers. 97% of the researchers were based in Jamaica. 97% of the researchers were based in Kingston. Those were the ones that were represented in Jamaica. So that shows that there's a need for other institutions and other ranges of the country to be represented, to be able to fully dictate how the environment is going on within each different parish, within each different community. So there seems to be an overrepresentation of Kingston and the Kingston area, but there needs to be an increase in the infrastructure for other regions of Jamaica overall. So when it came to the authors producing these publications, 79% of them produced only one publication for the entire year. So that is good that they have the publications out, but we want to increase the number of publications that each person is doing each year. So we need to increase the support for them. Overall, only 3% of researchers produced more than 4 publications just last year. And these 3% were in the top 10 authors in Jamaica. Of the top 10, so the top 10 are listed in the graph here, and Monica Asnani from the CARE Institute, which is the Caribbean Institute for Health Research based at UWI, was the top researcher, producing a total of 10 papers, which is incredible. Just that is incredible, completely incredible. So when it comes to the Caribbean specifically, we are wanting to look at the different publications that each country had produced last year. So looking at the graph, we can see that Cuba and Haiti were the dominating forces. They created or produced 889 and 827 different papers across the entire year, just last year. And with that, Jamaica came in 5th. We produced 190 publications based on the Web of Sciences standards. But there is still a need to assess the different publications with respect to the country's population. So Cuba, pretty big country in relation to Jamaica. Haiti, pretty big as well too in relation. But how does Jamaica compare when you factor in the population of all the different countries? Unfortunately, it's not the best. So when it comes to incorporating the populations of the different countries, Grenada was the leading institution at 1,115 publications per million population. And this was followed by the Cayman Islands and then Barbados. So overall, we can see that Jamaica, when you factor in population, came in 9th. So it came in just after Guyana and Haiti when you factor in the different populations. So that shows that there's a need not just for improvement within our own country, but also in the region. We want to be able to promote our research and have it like Grenada up to 1,000 and over 1,000 publications per million population. What does this mean specifically for Jamaica now? So clearly it means that there's more research investment that is needed. If there is a comparison with other countries and we are 9 out of the 10, then there needs to be an improvement in the investment in research, but not just in research in general, but also research in specific disciplines. So as mentioned, there was significant input in the medical sciences from general medicine to obstetrics and gynecology, but there needs to be an increase in the different disciplines that are supported for research in Jamaica. And these disciplines include stuff like engineering, environmental science, physics, and alternative energy. So with respect to alternative energy, I'm sure many of us would have loved to have a different source of energy when the gas prices started spiking recently. So if we had something, for example, that would be able to charge our vehicles or charge our homes or provide a sustainable source of electricity for us amid those gas prices, things would have been much more stable and less frightening for us. And these investments are not just for one particular field. So alternative energy or investments in alternative energy are not restricted to just alternative energy. The alternative energy that's produced from that research will go to support all the other industries. So it will go to support the medical sciences and the environmental sciences, to power the buildings and to keep people alive and keep doing the research that is needed for these different institutions. So it's not that one particular field is more important than the other. All are essential in collaborating and increasing the economic growth and development of our country. So we need to have a better representation of all fields across the entire country. And there needs to be a better scientific infrastructure. So a lot of the times when it comes to research, the research stays with researchers, but there needs to be a wider spread and, more importantly, more application of these different findings of research. So there needs to be more scientific monitoring and application so that the findings from research are not just stuck with the researchers in their field, they get applied into the real world, they get communicated to the public, and they are shown to be important within different fields. And one interesting factor for the NCST in helping to apply that is our national awards. So every 2 years, we have this award ceremony that helps to reward researchers who are applying their findings to the real world. So our innovation awards will be open in the next few weeks. I hope that someone with incredible innovations in the research field does apply and get the incredibly awesome prize at the end of it. So this is one where we're trying to support our researchers and our innovators by supporting them with these awards overall. There also needs to be greater visibility within science. So there needs to be a platform for people to know what kind of science is going on within the country and how researchers are getting work done. So it's not just about researchers knowing about their work, there also needs to be that work communicated to the general public. And there also needs to be applied to the general public as well too. So people need to know what's going on and use the findings from those different research papers and research publications in their daily lives, in their infrastructures, in their buildings. There could be an innovation within the building structure of buildings that causes us to decrease our spending on certain materials or decrease our spending on heating and cooling. So there are so many different ways that we can collaborate in different industries, in different institutions and disciplines to make science work for this country, for our country, and also for the entire world. There also needs to be more engagement with scientists and their work. So people, regular people, the general public need to be engaged by researchers so they can see that their work is important, and also the input of community members is important, because not only are we doing this for them to increase their quality of life, but also we want to inspire other people, other young people, members of the general public, to become interested in science and to work towards the development that we so need as a country and a region. So there needs to be greater involvement with community members. And one of the best ways to do that currently is through social media. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, there are challenges in physically connecting to people, but we still have social media and a lot of people are engaged through social media, so we can access them through that. We can get them involved through that. There are different entities like NASA that help to engage different researchers, like not even researchers, general public in their efforts. I remember there was one particular point when NASA was looking for different figures on the moon, and you just go on to the website, you spend a few hours and you circle different things, and then that information, I don't know anything about astronomy at all, but that information, that tedious information that is difficult for individual researchers to do, I would be able to help to contribute to. And then based on the information that I was able to gather from that, they can assess and see what exactly the things I circled mean, if they're actually something. So those are some of the ways that individual people, members of the general public who don't have the specific knowledge of science, can get involved in research without being too scared of the technical details. Everybody has a part to play and everybody can be included, and everybody should be included because this is our life, our future, our development. This is our planet that we're trying to protect and support overall, not just for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren and everyone, every living being on the planet that is to come after us and living with us right now. Every single one can be benefited from science, from the development and investment in science. So with that, I'd like to close by saying that our full report and dataset is present and currently available for free, of course, on our website at ncst.gov.jm/Scientometrics. I hope that you will go and look exactly what kind of publications we've been working on and see exactly what we've been doing. Maybe you can even find some of the researchers that you know that are in those publications. So go ahead, have fun, play around with it, do whatever you want, and
don't close, you have questions.
Yes, and have fun. So these are some of the references that were used in the presentation. And if you have any questions, literally any questions at all, let's go, anything about the topic, anything, even if it's a little bit abstract, we are excited to hear from you. We want to engage you in these particular aspects. So I do see that there are some questions here from Stephen. How does the nature of access, open and closed, affect efforts at meeting the PPM targets? So when it comes to the publications, when assessing them, it doesn't matter if it's open or closed, but when it comes to reaching a wider audience, for people to be able to access the information in that, it is best to have that information open. But it's a little bit difficult to have that information open when it comes to these publishing houses because they want to make a profit. But science, personally, I believe science needs to be free and accessible for all. So there needs to be increased funding and able to support more open science resources and also more divestment in journals that already produce open source papers overall. Oh, so it doesn't affect the PPMP. That's the issue. It doesn't affect the PPMP, but if there were more publications available that were open access, it may be able to be contributed to future researchers and help to inspire publications to increase the PPMP overall. All right, has the NCST given any consideration to the engagement of early career researchers as a specific target group to improve? Yes. Answer live. So yes, we have absolutely, as a young person as well too, as an early career researcher, I am particularly invested in making sure that the contributions of early career researchers are noted and that they are engaged, because it can really be difficult to get publications out there when you're just starting out. You don't know exactly the entire field, you don't know how it works. So we have different projects coming up that will engage not just early career researchers in creating publications and making them more aware of what the process is like, but also people from the primary school and high school and even younger ages to be engaged in science and help support them in the future. So we're going to have this infrastructure to be able to support them from now, so that when they do meet at that level, when they become the early career researchers, they'll have a better understanding of what it's like, how it gets done, and what their contributions are important to.
Why are some researchers?
Oh, as the NCST examined the reasons that create the publication differential among researchers and institutions. So that one we haven't specifically delved into, but I can tell you that one of the main sources is funding. So when it comes to the publications that were in the medical sciences over the years has been very, very well supported. many people donate to the medical sciences. There's great investment in the medical science infrastructure, and that allows them to continuously collaborate with their networks to produce papers, to do different research projects and experiments that will help to propel their work within that field. So yes, one of the factors is funding, but there are certainly other factors as well too. But we need to delve a little bit more into that to be able to fully explain for you. But I can.
Tradition as well. I know you work now. You need to work.
Yes. Another factor is tradition. So a lot of the time, people focus heavily on getting into the medical sciences. So with that tradition of getting to be a doctor, there is a greater investment within those fields. And that's something that we need to, yes, support, but also support for other fields. So there needs to be a propulsion of that same energy in different fields. So I want there to be a propulsion for different researchers in the environmental sciences, in chemistry, in physics, in everything, so that we can have that kind of investment in our futures overall. All right, if there are any more questions, please feel free to drop them. Did you notice any pattern as it relates to the country you collaborated with and the research area? Yes, so a lot of the countries were focused on, a lot of the countries we collaborated with were more developed countries, and Jamaica's contribution was quite minimal in some papers. So there'd be some papers that would have, say, only one Jamaican off a list of 1,000 different authors overall. And yes, there were some publications that had 1,000. So I was seeing that the Caribbean doesn't really get represented much in the research. We collaborated with more developed countries other than the Caribbean. And I feel that's something that we need to stem, we need to help support more of our own Caribbean countries and collaborate with our different Caribbean countries overall. Right, next question from Ms. Delancey. The government of Jamaica definitely needs to play a more critical role in funding research. Absolutely agree. We as a country have become so reactive instead of proactive. Agreed, preaching sis, as no real funding is given unless there's a problem. That is true. How do we begin working on this approach for research? Because this mindset has really affected the way we go. Yes. So the NCST is going to be key in helping to address this. So as a government agency, we are tied to the government, but we're not fully within their control. So we have different opportunities to be able to help sponsor different research projects, different research institutions and disciplines, because our goal is not just research within a particular field or our research within a particular industry or institution. Our focus is research across the entire country and across the world. So we will be focusing on the development of our country through these different aspects, through research, through engagement, and one of the main sources is funding. There needs to be, as you mentioned, Mr. Lancy, there needs to be a concerted effort towards not just reacting to certain things. One good example is the dengue outbreaks that happen every few years, or not just dengue specifically, but also the other mosquito-borne illnesses that are affecting the country every few years. There needs to be a concerted effort to consistently assess the mosquito populations throughout the entire year to see what the levels of different viruses are, what the mosquito populations are, so that we can, before something happens, we can say, hey, stay home. You see that there's a small increase within cases. It's best to make sure that that is not a spike, not a large epidemic within the country. Best to stay home for now while we as researchers find the best ways to reduce those populations. So that will come from a concerted effort, that will come from a concerted effort of the medical field, so people who are assessing the different cases within the hospitals, the environmental sciences, so there'll be researchers that are going out, checking water to see what kind of mosquitoes there are, what kind of viruses there are with those mosquitoes as well too, and also different members of the public. So people can say, hey, there's a big swarm of mosquitoes that I just recently came across, could you check it out and then see how that's going? So it's a concerted effort of different disciplines that needs to be addressed. There is need for that strong collaboration of different entities, different institutions, different individuals to get and address these problems. So that's something that the NCST is diligently working to address, because we as researchers ourselves, we understand the struggles of getting our research out there, getting funding for our research, and we want to alleviate that pressure for the future generation and also other researchers currently. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Latsu. I see that there's something in the chat. There's many yeses. Awesome. That was from earlier, sorry. Okay. I just want to actually answer all of these, so there are no open questions. So if anyone else has any question at all, please feel free to ask. Thank you so much to Stephen, Christina, and Desirina for asking those questions. They were really informative. And if you'd like, you can talk, you can send us a message and we'll be happy to talk more about anything and even collaborate with you specifically to help support Jamaica's publications across the years. Right, so it seems that there are no more questions. I would like to say thank you so much to everyone for showing up and participating. It is a pleasure. Oh, I see another one just popped up. From Arain, what you like to see yourself doing as a researcher in 5 years? I will be doing this. I will be helping to support the different researchers in my own field. So I have been frustrated in getting my own research published and getting published and getting funding for my research. I want to be able to alleviate some of that pressure for, I keep forgetting to click that one. I want to be able to alleviate some of the pressure for other researchers. So I find myself quite resilient, but not everyone is. Sometimes when they're faced with the many roadblocks that we have had to go through as researchers, they can end up just giving up. But I want to alleviate some of that pressure for them. So I want to be not only publishing my research within entomology, because insects are the best, but also supporting other researchers in other fields to get their work published. If it's something as simple as showing them which journals to publish in or what the process is like in getting their journals published, or even having a network or a committee of people to review publications before they go to the journals, I want to alleviate some of that pressure and keep publishing as well too within the scientific field. And also promote. Yes, and I also want to promote application as well too of the different research findings. And you could do like researcher's guide. Yeah, a researcher's guide. Yes, a researcher's guide would be incredibly awesome. And one of the things within the report, there's a list of all the authors and the number of publications in the report and the data set. So you can go into those different measures and see the researchers in the entire country. So you can find them and even contact them directly to find out what kind of work they're doing and know that they are contributing to the development of our own country. I'll give it about a minute in case anyone else wants to ask any questions. But honestly, it has been a really interesting, awesome. Thanks. Thank you. Looking forward to the fruits of your labor. You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be able to find out these things and help support scientists. So I am happy to share this information with you through whatever platform and also do the very long and tedious work of getting that information for you and provide it to you so you can make better decisions in the future and support science as we go forward. Does anyone want to ask how long all of it took? Because it was a while, but it was incredibly important for me to be able to get that work out there because I saw the value in it from the start. I personally always wanted to find out more about our scientific research because a lot of the times you don't think Jamaica is that big or that important, but to know that Jamaica, little tiny Jamaica, is working with 139 countries across the world. Some of them we don't even know regularly. Like you can always name the US and the UK, but Myanmar and Thailand and different countries across the world that we don't typically consider, like we're working with them. We are part of a global network of researchers, and that is just amazing. It makes me personally, yeah, so we just need to apply it overall into different aspects of our culture and our society. So I see that there are no more questions. I take it that everyone is satisfied with the presentation. This recording will be available on our YouTube channel, so check out our information on our website to link to that, and you'll be able to access this recording and share it with anyone you like across time and space. So please do that. And thank you so much for coming and participating. It was incredibly awesome having you, and I hope that you have an awesome day and you enjoy all of Earth Day tomorrow. I hope that you're doing something to help commemorate the day, something like a beach cleanup or anything like that. So please enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy Earth Day and have a good rest of the month and year. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.